Hi everyone, I thought I'd share the itinerary from our South African honeymoon, just because when we were planning it, there was loads of kind of things to do in South Africa, but nothing kind of like planning out an itinerary or kind of areas that you should go to. And I think my husband, because my husband's a planner out of the two of us, found it quite difficult to plan like when to go to certain places in different areas and regions. So I just wanted to share it because I had the best honeymoon ever. It was South Africa is amazing and it's stunning, and I'll definitely be going back. My brother's girlfriend is also South African, so we got a little bit of insider knowledge before we went out there to kind of help us decide like on the best places to go, and yeah, gave us a few hints and tips I thought I'd share. So we went for 2 weeks. Sorry, I've just got some notes. But we went for 2 weeks, and we spent I think around 3 days in Cape Town. Then we spent about 4 days in the Kruger National Park, and then we did I think a week after that in like Stellenbosch, Franschhoek region, like the wine region. So I'll just kind of talk through the highlights of the trip. I'll put some videos because I was going to vlog, but kind of got sidetracked. So I did take a lot of videos, so I'll put them on the side so you can see different areas. But yeah, we'll start off with Cape Town. So my brother's girlfriend kind of recommended either staying in the Waterfront or Camps Bay. She did say Camps Bay, but the Waterfront would also be a good option for tourists, and we decided to stay in Camps Bay, which is just right along the beachfront, and it was stunning. It was so pretty. We also got a really good Airbnb, where actually I think it was on booking.com. It might not have been like a boutique hotel, but you could walk from the hotel to kind of the main strip like within like a minute. So it was really good location and like stunning hotel, really nice. It had views as well, like insane views. So I'll put that down below because it wasn't too expensive for the area, because it can be quite expensive. But yeah, no, it was really good. Hotel, and right on, you kind of walk down and you could go on to the beach, and then there was like loads of bars and restaurants along the front, which got quite vibey as well. Like if you wanted to go out for a few drinks, there was music and stuff and people playing the drums, and it was really nice area to kind of base camp whilst you're in Cape Town. So I'll kind of run through what we did whilst we stayed in Cape Town and what was like the best bits. So my husband is a really big cricket fan, so we went to the Newlands cricket ground. I was just doing this as a favour because he wanted to take off a new cricket ground, and we did like I think half a day there, and to be fair to him, it was insane. Like the views in the cricket ground were amazing. I literally was just there with a few drinks, having a great old time. I don't know anything about cricket, so but I still had a great time. So I think if you want to go out there and watch the cricket, it's insane, really good. It's really affordable as well compared to what you'd pay in England. Definitely think if England went out there to play South Africa, we would definitely go out just to watch the cricket because it was insane and the ground was insane. So if there's any cricket on and you're really into your sports or your sporting events, then I would definitely go there. I do know South Africans are really big into the rugby, so cricket wasn't as I don't know, popular I guess over there, but it was still an incredible experience, especially if you really like the cricket. So I would definitely put that on, kind of definitely do that, like do list. So the next thing that we loved was Boulders Beach. So that's the beach with all the penguins. That was insane. We went in the morning, unfortunately. We got stuck in a lot of traffic. So when we got there, the queue was so long. And we didn't have that long there because we had booked a restaurant for lunchtime. So we went to the visitor centre and saw all the penguins at the visitor centre, which was insane. But I think what you can also do is if you walk past the visitor centre and just go down to the beach, you can go on the beach and actually stand with the penguins on the beach. I've heard that the best time to go and do that is around kind of like sunset or sunrise. I think it closes around 7 p.m. It closes at 7 p.m. during summertime. So we actually went to South Africa in January, which is their summer. So it closes around 7 p.m. in summertime, but I think about 5 if you're going in winter. So it's kind of flipped to the UK. So if you're going in July, August time, it'll probably close a bit earlier. So yeah, just bear that in mind. But it was amazing seeing the little penguins, and definitely like a highlight of the trip. I wish we could stay there longer, and I think if we were to go back to South Africa, we'd do like a full beach day there. But I have been told that the penguins don't come out as much during the day, so it's better to go either in the morning or in the like early afternoon, evening. So the next thing we've got is Table Mountain. Now this is insane. It was incredible. So because we were only in Cape Town for 3 days, we didn't really have a lot of time, and when we got there we were quite tired, so we didn't really feel like hiking up Lion's Head, which is definitely I've spoken to my brother and like some of my friends who've done it, and they said it's amazing, like definitely do it. So if you're going to Cape Town, I would recommend hiking up Lion's Head. However, we just didn't have the time to do that. So what we did was we got a cable car up to Table Mountain, which was insane. Also, when you get up the table, like when you go up the cable car and get to the top of Table Mountain, you can walk around it, and that's a walk in itself. We were walking for probably like an hour just around the top, and just the pictures. I would recommend going for either sunrise or sunset. We went for sunset, we got some pizza at the top, had some beers, and we went on a really good day where it was like no cloud. It was honestly insane. I'll put some videos on the screen so you guys can see, but that was like top. That was probably like a highlight of the whole trip of mine. It was really insane. And then kind of areas for restaurants that we ate at. So again, as I said, like along the front of Camps Bay there's loads of like restaurants and food, but I think probably like the two standouts for us in that like area was a restaurant called Finn, which was insane. I'll put some pictures. It was a tasting menu, so again I think it was between I think like maybe 8 courses, something like that. It was like 8 courses. We got some cocktails, and that was really amazing. I think it was Japanese / South African like mix. I think it was definitely Japanese, and I'm pretty sure they said South African mix. But yeah, it was loads of like tuna, there was some wagyu, just really great food. And then the standout restaurant, probably like one of the top 2 restaurants from the whole 2-week trip, was a restaurant called Lacombe. I think that's how you pronounce it. I think it was in the past, or still is, voted one of the best restaurants in Africa, or was voted the best restaurant in Africa, and it was insane. It was kind of like the equivalent to what a Michelin would be in the UK, but like at a fraction of the cost. I think it was like a 200 something pound meal. So I'll definitely put that down. Again, it was kind of like a tasting menu size, but I never had such a good spicy margarita in my life. Like, I'll put a picture because they had like a chili in the ice, and it was insane. It was so good. So highly recommend that. Again, it was like a 9 kind of I think it was 9 courses. I think 9 courses, again, just like a tasting menu, but it was some of the best food I've ever had in my whole life. Probably one of the best meals I've ever had in my whole life. Yeah, it was insane. I would highly recommend that. Another restaurant that we didn't actually get a chance to go to was somewhere called, I think it's called Chef's Warehouse, and there's a few around the kind of around Cape Town. But I think the one near Chapman's Bay is actually meant to be really good, because you've got the views of Chapman's Bay. I think that's what it's called. I'll put it in the description box if it's not called Chapman's Bay. It's the route you take, and it's really scenic, and you can see out, I think it's to the Camps Bay, I guess. You look out, well, you kind of drive around and then look back out into South Africa. I'll put some pictures, but that was a really scenic drive. We actually took that drive to Boulders Beach, but it's a toll, so just let your Uber drivers know that you want to take the toll route, and you'll pay for the toll. I think the toll was literally like £2, but you get the way more scenic view to go to Boulders Beach. So that was something I should recommend. So yeah, those are kind of like the main things we did in Cape Town. We would definitely have preferred to have a few more days there, but because we were packing so much into the trip, we just didn't have a chance. But yeah, I'll put all the recommendations in the description bar, and I'll put some like stars next to like the must do's, but I think everything I'm saying is a must do, to be honest. So the next bit of the honeymoon was flying out to Kruger National Park. So we went back to Cape Town National Airport, and then we got a flight from there to Kruger. The airport was tiny, probably like one of the tiniest airports I've ever been to. And we did a safari with, I think you pronounce it Motswari Safari Park. And it was insane. We stayed for, I think it was 3 nights, and we did 6 game drives, and it was honestly magical. You obviously get up really early, and then I think the day was you got up at like 4 a.m, went on a game drive, you came back, you had breakfast, and then you kind of chilled by the pool, read your books. I had a little nap by the pool, and then you went on a game drive in the evening for another like 4 hours, and then you'd come back, and then it'd be about 8 o'clock when you got back, and then we would have dinner and then kind of go back to bed at like 10. But honestly by 10 I was falling asleep. But it was amazing. I guess a few things, because I'd never done a safari before. I had done a safari, but not a safari in kind of you're going to do a safari. I did kind of like day park safaris when I went to Sri Lanka, so not kind of on the same wavelength as this. But like we did 6 game drives, and I think we only saw the big 5 on our 4th game drive or our 5th game drive. So it definitely took us a while to see the big 5. And I think when I was quite naive, so when I was like, before we went, I thought that you'd kind of just go on your game drive and you just see like loads and loads of animals everywhere, but it was definitely some where you had to hunt for the animals, but that made it a bit more exciting, because then when you saw one you were like, oh my god, you know, lions and stuff. And it was honestly insane, like all the animals, seeing them in the wild. And we did see the big 5, and yeah, it was such a good experience. And but like, be prepared to be driving around for like an hour and you don't really see anything. Well, you'll see like a zebra or a giraffe, but you know, like if you want to see like a leopard or a lion or any, like, it just takes, you can be driving around for a while without seeing stuff, which I thought no one really talks about, because you always see the videos of like everyone just seeing like loads of stuff. But it was amazing. I loved the sundowners as well, because you like stop halfway through the game drive to have like a drink and some like snacky bits. Biltong is amazing, which is really good like meat snack. It looks vile, like it literally looks so gross, but it tastes delicious. We had that, and like you have a gin and tonic, and it was just insane. I think one day on the game drive we had, we got out the truck, we were just having our drinks, and then an elephant like walked, just kind of came around the corner, and we were like, oh my god, like I was so close to it. And I just don't think you'd ever experience anything like that in your life. It was amazing. So I highly recommend that. A few things to probably say around the time of year that we went. So we went in January, and when I was reading online, it was like it gets cold in the mornings and at night, and I was quite hot the whole time. It was about 36 degrees when we were there, so it was really hot. I do think in the morning, like if the truck's going at speed, there's some wind, so you can get a bit cold, but as soon as it stops, like you're fine. So I think you'd be fine in like a fleece and then shorts, and then you can take your fleece off, or like wearing trousers and a t-shirt. They also have these really like nice blankets, so you can just like wear if you get a bit chilly. But we weren't that hot, so we packed a lot of like jumpers and like trousers and stuff, and like we didn't wear any of that because it was just too hot in January. So if you're going later in the year, I think that's probably definitely something to bear in mind. But if you're going in like the summer months, it doesn't actually get that cold in the mornings. I just wore kind of things. What I wore was just like really loose fitting clothing, because you're just like on these vehicles and it's so hot. Like even at 4 o'clock when you go out on your second game drive, it was roasting. Like I was so hot. And there's no roof to these cars, so you're just like in the sun. Yeah, so just wear like as many little like layers, like loose layers as possible. I think I wore like a Ning Bing set, which I got vinted, which was great. And then like another kind of really thin set. I'll put some pictures up. And then I got a bucket hat, which I didn't think suited me at all, but like I'm telling you now, that thing saved me, because it like shields you from like all the sun. It just, yeah, it was great. It was better than wearing a cap, because you didn't feel it either side. Also kind of gave the safari vibe as well, but I really recommend getting one of those. And we also invested in some binoculars before we went. I think we just got them off Amazon, and that was really good as well, because you do see quite a lot of like birds fly up and you can't really see them, but if you look in binoculars you can see them really clearly. But also when like animals are hidden in the trees and you can't really see them, when you put your binoculars on you can see them a lot better. So I do recommend some binoculars, especially if you're blind. I wear contact lenses, so I definitely needed them. If they're like the animals over there, I'm like, where? So yeah, definitely recommend having that as well. The one thing I will say, the safari that we did was all inclusive. So we had 3 meals. Yeah, we had 3 meals, and then like drinks were also all inclusive. I really recommend the place we stayed. I think safaris can be so expensive, and I think this was quite reasonable for what we got. So I'll put that down below the recommend it, and I'll also put down I think it's called Sabi Sands, which is like top tier, like really nice safari. I think it was just a little bit out of our budget, but I'll put that down as well, because that is a really good option, and I've had recommendations, so that was incredible as well. So I'll put those both down in the description box as well. So then back after that, after the safari, we went back down to Cape Town, and then we went to the kind of wine country. So we stayed in Franschhoek and in Stellenbosch. So we stayed, I think it's called pronounced Franschhoek. I don't know, the one beginning with F. We stayed in a really nice hotel. It's like a boutique hotel. I'll put some pictures. And it was like in the center, so you could walk to like the main road with all the restaurants on, and it was so good. Very convenient, and there was a pool at the hotel as well. The room was definitely quite small, but it was fine for a couple of days. Did the job, and yeah, it was just a really good location. So I will recommend that, and I'll put that down below, because I think it was really reasonably priced as well. So we kind of just chilled the first night, just because we just travelled, and we did go to a really good burger restaurant. The service wasn't the best, I won't lie. The service wasn't that great, but the food was insane. So I would go back just because of the food. So I'll put it down, but just make a note that the service might not be the best. It was a bit slow when we were there, but it was insane. I had a burger, and then my husband had a steak. So yeah, it was really good. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'll put it down in the description box below. I will also say with tipping and tipping culture, so you do tip when you go abroad to South Africa, and when I was speaking to people who've been there before or like live there, they were saying like the average tip is 10%. So 10% if it's just like standard good service, and then like 15% if it's like exceptional, really good service, then you tip 15%. So yeah, definitely kind of tip where you can, because they don't add that tip on. So just when you go to restaurants, they don't add a tip on, but it's kind of like if you go to the States, they expect the tip. So I think in South Africa they rely on the tips as well, so it's good to tip. But we didn't know that until we went out there, and then we were like, oh, what do we tip? So yeah, I just thought I'd share that as well. So we had 2 nights in Franschhoek, and we just kind of chilled by the pool, went to that restaurant, and then we did the Wine Tram. Now the Wine Tram was so much fun. It was so good. You go on a tram and you visit like I think about 4 different vineyards throughout the day. You do like tastings of all the wine. You can have like charcuterie boards. It was incredible. All the places just so picturesque, and like you have vineyards, you have mountains. It's just like, yeah, it's insane. It was so nice. So I really recommend doing the Wine Tram, and if not, you can go and just see like a few different vineyards throughout the stay. Like I think in total we went and did 9 vineyards in like 5 days. So I was definitely on the plane home like 90% wine, but it was insane. If you love wine, and if you love like charcuterie boards, like cheese, oh, it was a dream. It was so good. So I really recommend the vineyards. I think I've written down 2 which were like stand out from the whole trip, not just like the Wine Tram. So Babylonstoren, I think that's how you say it. I can't pronounce any of these, but that was amazing. Insane. I think that was the best wine we had, and that was also the best charcuterie board we had. And then the grounds were really nice, and you can actually eat all the fruit around the grounds. My husband was just like picking stuff from like the trees and just eating it, and I was like, oh my god. But yeah, that was really like picturesque and lovely. And they had like a farm shop. It was giving Dalesford. If you've ever been in the UK to Cotswolds, it was giving Dalesford, like farm shop, like wholesome vibes. It was really nice. And then the second one, where I think the views were chef's kiss, were Bartney. So that was such a lovely vineyard. It was quite compact, but then when you went down onto like the seating areas and you just looked out, and the view was just like, it was insane. So I really recommend that one as well. But I'll put down all the vineyards we did visit, and then I'll put stars next to the ones that were insane, and then maybe comments next to the others, whether they were worth going to or kind of skip. But those were definitely the two main ones that stood out to me out of the 9 I did. But they were all insane. I don't think any one of them was bad. So yeah, kind of says it all. And then we also, a restaurant that we went to, I think this is in Stellenbosch, it's called the Fat Butcher, and oh my god, it was insane. If you like steaks, this is the place to go. If you're not a meat eater, I wouldn't really recommend going there, but if you like steaks, this is the place to go. My husband's like massively into steaks, and to be fair, it was insane. It's like massive like meat. If you ever go to Fazenda and stuff like that, it's very like meat heavy. This is like next level. But it was insane. Like one of the best steaks I've ever eaten in my whole life, probably the best steak I've eaten in my whole life. And yeah, they come over and like show you all the cuts. They also did a really good spicy tequila there as well, which is kind of like a spicy margarita, but very good. So that is another restaurant that I definitely recommend if you like steaks and that kind of vibe, then 100% go there. It was also definitely more on the pricier side for South Africa. I would say it was like a standard price meal in the UK. So that for South Africa is quite expensive, because the wine tastings that you do at the vineyards, they're like £4 to £6 for like 6 tasting wines. So that's insane. You know, you're paying like £12 in London for a glass of wine. So yeah, just to bear that in mind as well. And then after we kind of stayed in Franschhoek for a couple of days, we moved to I think this was just kind of outside of that area, that region, and it was an estate called the Roche estate. Now I think this is mainly for weddings. I found it on an influencer's account, and it just looked so nice, and we booked it just because I saw the pictures and I was like, yeah, that looks perfect. And we'd just done quite a lot of drinking because we went to the vineyards before, so this was definitely more of like a chilled 2 days. And it was so picturesque. It was literally like you were living on a National Trust kind of vibe for like 2 days. It was insane. The one thing I'll say was it was silent, like so quiet. I felt like we were the only people there like staying, but the rooms were amazing. They brought in these like breakfast like buffet things, which was insane every morning. It was so nice. We just kind of chilled there by the pool, and they had this massive like manor house. It was honestly insane. The one thing that I would highly recommend doing is we actually booked to do a picnic through the hotel, and they set out like the picnic overlooking the vineyard, and it was insane. That was like, again, one of the highlights of the trip. Like I was just like, this is so romantic. It was just so nice, so nice. And like we spent a whole afternoon there just like eating and like drinking and like looking at the vineyard. It was so nice. So I highly recommend that. If also I did see like when I was looking at loads of the vineyards to stay, I did see that like quite a few of them do the picnic option, and I would really recommend it. I thought it was such a cute idea. Like you don't really get that anywhere else. They did it in like a really private area, and then also got an umbrella so you were in the shade. It was really nice. So I highly recommend that. I don't think I'd go back staying there because it was quite remote, but if you want to get cut off and just like relax for a couple of days, that was definitely the place to do it. But it's not a place to go for atmosphere, if that makes sense. Like the atmosphere would just be like taking your book and reading. It wouldn't be like you're seeing loads of people like everywhere. So yeah, bear that in mind. And then our last kind of hotel that we stayed at as part of the trip, I think this was in between Stellenbosch and Franschhoek, I'm not entirely sure, but it was called again, I'm gonna not pronounce this right, it was called MolenVliet Wine Estate, I think. Again, I saw this on an influencer's account and it looked insane. I watched a video on it and I was like, oh, this looks amazing, like 100% gonna book this. And this was probably one of our most pricey stays of the whole trip, if not the most expensive, I think, by the safari. And the room was insane, I will give them that. Like the room was insane. I'll put some pictures again on the screen of the room, because yeah, that was probably one of the nicer rooms we stayed in. It had a pool, you overlooked the vineyard, it was just stunning. But it's one of those things where my husband was like, you fell for marketing. I would say the service probably there was not the best at all. Also, I was under the impression that there was like a communal pool that you could go to, but there wasn't. It wasn't a communal pool, you just kind of had the pool in your room. There was another pool, but it was like very small, and then just wasn't like the vibe that I thought it was going to be. And then the we booked to do the wine tasting there as well, which was actually one of probably the nicer wine tastings we did. Like the actual quality of the wine was really nice. But again, when I was watching the video, it looked like you were overlooking like the vineyard and the mountains, and actually you were kind of just in like a courtyard. Still stunning, but like, you know, like when you're just like, oh, this is different to how you thought it was going to be shown. I don't know, I just thought, yeah, I feel like sometimes you can't fall for stuff like that. You've got to do your own research, and sometimes people are just kind of advertising stuff. But it was still an insane hotel. I don't regret staying there, but I don't think we'd go back for the price. So yeah, but that was pretty much, I'd say, the whole itinerary of what we did, where we stayed. We went to, you know, stayed in Camps Bay, then we went to do a safari, and then we came back and did the whole wine lines kind of area, and then we came home, which was sad. I hope this video was useful and kind of gave a few more tips, but also like showed you kind of videos of what I got up to, and you know, I hope it was just useful. And if you go to South Africa, I hope you all have an amazing time, because it's an insane country and I will definitely be going back. Bye.